Commander Zixtel stood before the massive viewing window of Kepler Station and watched the stars with growing worry. His crystalline body caught the light from the nearby sun and sent rainbow patterns across the metal floor. The station hummed, with activity as miners and scientists went about their daily work. But Zixtel knew this peace would not last much longer. The warning had come 3 hours ago from their long-range sensors. A fleet of ships was moving toward their system, and the computer had identified them as Shadowmaw raiders. Zixtel had seen what these pirates could do to defenseless colonies. They took everything of value and destroyed what they could not carry. The survivors, if there were any, were left to die slowly on ruined worlds. Dr. Kayla Reef entered the command center with quick, wet footsteps. Her blue-green skin glistened under the lights as she moved to the sensor display. The Aquari, scientist, had been working on Kepler Station for 5 years, studying the rare minerals found in the asteroid belt. She was one of the best minds in the sector, but even she could not solve this problem with science. "How many ships are coming?" she asked as she studied the sensor readings. Her large eyes reflected the glow from the screens as she tried to understand what they were facing. 53 vessels confirmed," Zixtel replied in his musical voice. "At least 12 heavy cruisers and 37 smaller attack ships. Our computers estimate they will arrive in 4 hours." Security Chief Vrixon clicked his mandibles, together in the way his people showed stress. The insectoid Vex had natural armor that could stop small weapons, but he knew it would not help against the massive guns of a raider fleet. His 6 arms moved quickly over his control panel as he checked the station's defenses. "We have 3 patrol ships and 8 defense platforms," he reported. "The patrol ships are 20 years old and barely armed for fighting pirates. The platforms have good shields but weak weapons. We might last 15 minutes against that fleet." Dr. Reef turned away from the sensors and looked at both commanders. "What about evacuation? We have over 3,000 people on this station. Most of them are civilians who came here to work in the mines or study the local planets." Zixtel made a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, which meant he was thinking hard about a difficult problem. "We have 12 transport ships, but they are slow and designed for carrying cargo, not people. Even if we started loading them now, we could only take half the population before the raiders arrive." The 3 officers stood in silence for a moment, each thinking about the impossible choice they faced: save some people and leave others to die, or stay and fight a battle they could not win. Neither option felt right to any of them. "Have we sent distress calls?" Dr. Reef asked, though she already knew the answer would not help them. "Yes," Vrixon replied. "We broadcast on all emergency frequencies 2 hours ago. The nearest military base is 3 weeks away, even if they sent ships immediately. We also tried to contact the trading vessels that sometimes pass through this area, but none have responded." Zixtel walked to another console and began typing commands. "I am accessing the station's main computer to see if there are any other options we have not considered. Perhaps there are old communication codes or forgotten defense systems we could use." Dr. Reef joined him at the console, her webbed fingers moving across the controls with practiced skill. "The mining company that built this station 50 years ago used some very old technology. There might be emergency protocols that were never updated in the station's memory banks." As they worked, Vrixon continued monitoring the approaching fleet. The raiders were not trying to hide their approach or disguise their intentions. They wanted the people on Kepler Station to know they were coming and to be afraid. Fear made people make mistakes, and mistakes made raids easier for the pirates. "I found something," Dr. Reef said suddenly. "There are communication codes here, for species I have never heard of before. Some of these protocols are very old, from when this sector was first being explored." She pointed to a section of the display that showed dozens of different signal types and frequencies. Most were for alien species that everyone knew about, but there were a few that seemed to be for people called humans. "Humans," Zixtel said, slowly. "I have heard of them. They are a young species from somewhere far away. Most people say they are not very advanced and only interested in trading small goods between systems." Vrixon clicked his mandibles again. "I have heard different stories about humans. Other security chiefs have told me strange tales about human ships appearing in places where no one expected them. Some say they have powerful weapons, but others say this is just rumors and fear. Dr. Reef was already working to activate the old communication system. At this point, any help would be better than no help. Even if these humans only have small trading ships, they might be able to take some of our people to safety. The first alarm sounded as the station's sensors detected the Shadow Maw fleet entering the outer edge of their solar system. The raiders were still 2 hours away, but they were close enough now for the station's computers to get detailed information about their ships and weapons. The lead ship is broadcasting a message, Rixon reported. They are demanding that we surrender all valuable materials and research data. They say we have 1 hour to comply, or they will destroy the station and everyone on it. Zixtel looked at the tactical display showing the approaching fleet. Each red dot represented a ship filled with pirates who cared nothing for the lives of innocent people. Begin loading the transport ships with as many civilians as possible. Start with the families that have young children. Dr. Reef finished programming the human communication codes and began broadcasting their distress call on all the frequencies she could find. She did not know if any humans were close enough to receive the message, or if they would care enough to help, but she had to try. "This is Dr. Kayla Reef of Kepler Station," she said into the microphone. "We are under attack by Shadow Maw raiders and need immediate assistance. We have 3,000 civilians who will die if no one comes to help us. Please, if anyone can hear this message, we need help now." The message went out into space, traveling at the speed of light toward any human ships that might be listening. Behind them, the Shadow Maw fleet continued its approach, and the people of Kepler Station prepared to fight a battle they could not win. The first transport ship pulled away from Kepler Station, just as the Shadow Maw fleet came into weapons range. Commander Zixtel watched from the command center as the small vessel tried to escape with 400 civilians inside. The ship had barely cleared the station's docking bay when 3 raider fighters swooped down and destroyed it with their plasma cannons. Dr. Reef pressed her hands against the viewing window and watched the debris scatter into space. Those people had been her friends and colleagues, scientists and workers who had come to this distant place to build something good. Now they were gone, killed simply because they had tried to survive. "The other transport ships are trapped," Security Chief Rixon reported. "The raiders have positioned their fighters to block all escape routes. They want to capture our ships intact so they can use them to carry away whatever they steal from us." The station shook as the first enemy weapons hit their shields. The defensive platforms around Kepler Station fired back with their small guns, but their shots barely scratched the armor of the heavy raider cruisers. One by one, the platforms exploded under the massive firepower of the attacking fleet. Zixtel made quick calculations in his head and realized they had perhaps 20 minutes before the station's shields failed completely. After that, the raiders would board them and take control of everything. The research data alone was worth millions of credits to the right buyers, and the pirates would kill anyone who tried to stop them from taking it. "I am going to destroy the main computer cores," he announced. "If we cannot save our people, at least we can prevent these criminals from profiting from our work." Dr. Reef turned away from the window and faced him. "Wait, let me try one more thing first. I found more information about those human communication codes while you were organizing the evacuation." She moved to her console and brought up the files she had discovered in the station's old records. "According to this data, humans have been active in this region for at least 10 years. The trading companies that installed our communication equipment included human protocols because human merchants sometimes pass through here." Frixon looked up from his tactical display. "Even if humans receive our message, what could they do to help us? The stories I have heard make them sound like peaceful traders, not warriors." "Some of the stories are different," Dr. Reef said, as she continued reading. "There are reports here from other stations and colonies. 3 years ago, a human ship helped defend a Zephyrian mining platform against raiders. 2 years ago, humans assisted in the evacuation of a Vex colony that was hit by a natural disaster." She paused and looked at both of her companions. "But there are stranger reports too. A space station near the Aquari homeworlds reported that a human warship appeared during a pirate attack and destroyed an entire raider fleet in less than an hour. The official records say this is impossible, but the witnesses all tell the same story. The station shook again, harder this time. Sparks flew from several control panels as the shields absorbed another wave of enemy fire. Through the windows, they could see the massive shapes of Shadowmaw cruisers moving closer, their weapons charging for the final assault. "I am detecting boarding pods launching from the lead cruiser," Vrixon announced. "They will reach us in 5 minutes. I suggest we retreat to the central core and try to hold them off as long as possible." Dr. Reef was still working at her console, sending out message after message on every human frequency she could find. "Please," she said into the microphone. "This is Kepler Station calling any human vessels in range. We are under attack and have 3,000 civilians who need help. Our defenses are failing and we have nowhere else to turn." Zixtel began the process of activating the station's self-destruct system. It would take 15 minutes to charge the explosives, and he was not sure they had that much time left. The Shadowmaw pirates were experts at boarding operations, and the station's security forces were no match for professional raiders. "There," Dr. Reef said suddenly. "I am getting something on the long-range sensors. The signal is very faint, but it looks like a ship approaching from outside the system." Vrixon switched his screens to show the sensor readings she had found. "The signature is unlike anything in our database. The ship appears to be very large, but it is still too far away to get detailed information." "How long until it reaches us?" Zixtel asked, though he suspected the answer would not help them. "At least 2 hours, assuming it maintains current speed," Vrixon replied. "We will be captured or dead long before then." The first boarding pod slammed into the station's hull with a sound like thunder. Emergency alarms began wailing as the raiders cut through the outer bulkheads with plasma torches. More pods followed, each one carrying a team of armed pirates who would spread through the station like a disease. Dr. Reef continued broadcasting her distress calls, even as the sounds of fighting echoed through the corridors outside the command center. Station security guards were trying to hold the raiders back, but everyone knew it was hopeless. The pirates had better weapons, better armor, and more experience in this kind of combat. "Security Teams 7 and 12 have stopped responding," Vrixon reported. "The raiders have taken control of levels 15 through 20. They are moving toward the civilian shelters." Zixtel felt his crystalline body growing cold with anger and despair. The people hiding in those shelters were teachers, engineers, miners, and their families. They had come to Kepler Station to build better lives for themselves, not to die at the hands of criminals who cared nothing for innocent life. "The mysterious ship is changing course," Dr. Reef announced. "It is now heading directly for our system, and appears to be increasing speed. I am reading some kind of energy buildup, but I cannot identify what type of power source they are using." "Could it be more raiders?" Vrixon asked. "Perhaps another pirate fleet coming to claim their share of the loot?" "I do not think so," Dr. Reef replied, studying her instruments carefully. "The energy signature is completely different from anything the Shadowmaw use. This ship is using technology I have never seen before." The station shook as another section was breached by enemy forces. Through the communication system, they could hear the voices of frightened civilians calling for help and the harsh laughter of pirates who enjoyed causing fear and pain. Dr. Reef made one final attempt to contact the approaching vessel. "Unknown ship, this is Dr. Kayla Reef of Kepler Station. We are under attack by Shadowmaw raiders and desperately need assistance. Please respond if you can hear this message." For several seconds, there was only static. Then a voice came through, the speakers clear and strong despite the distance. The accent was unfamiliar, but the words were in perfect galactic standard language. "Dr. Reef, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Liberty. We received your distress call and are en route to your position. Hold your position and keep your people safe. Help is on the way." The 3 officers looked at each other in amazement. A human ship was actually coming to help them, and the captain sounded confident that he could make a difference against an entire raider fleet. "Captain Morrison," Dr. Reef replied quickly. "We have 53 enemy ships and they are all ready, boarding our station. I do not know what weapons you have, but please be careful. These raiders are very dangerous." "Understood, Doctor," came the calm reply. "We will handle the raiders. Just keep broadcasting your position so we can find you quickly." Outside the command center, The sounds of fighting were getting closer as the pirates fought their way through the station's defenders. Space itself seemed to tear open at the edge of the Kepler system as the USS Liberty dropped out of hyperspace. The massive ship appeared like a mountain emerging from a black ocean, its hull gleaming with armor that reflected the light of distant stars. Energy weapons along its sides glowed with barely contained power, and launch bays opened to release squadrons of sleek fighter craft. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the tactical display show the situation. Around Kepler Station, 53 red dots marked enemy vessels, while the blue dot representing the station flickered weakly as its shields absorbed continuous bombardment. He had seen this kind of attack before, and he knew exactly what needed to be done. Lieutenant. Commander Lisa Carter worked at her station, her fingers moving quickly over the weapon controls. She had been Morrison's tactical officer for 3 years, and they had fought together against pirates, smugglers, and worse threats along the frontier. The Liberty was one of the most advanced ships in the human fleet, but it had never faced odds like this before. Enemy fleet composition confirmed, Carter reported. 12 heavy cruisers, 37 attack vessels, and 4 boarding ships currently attached to the station. They appear to be standard Shadow Maw configuration with plasma weapons and missile systems. Any sign that they have detected us yet? Morrison asked as he studied the display. The Liberty had emerged from hyperspace behind a large asteroid, using it to mask their approach. It would not hide them for long, but it might give them the advantage of surprise. Negative, sir, replied Ensign Danny Walsh from the sensor station. Their attention is focused on the station. We should have a few minutes before they notice us. Morrison nodded and opened a communication channel to the engineering section. Ryan, how are our systems looking? Chief Engineer Ryan Lopez answered immediately from the engine room. All systems are operating at peak efficiency, Captain. The quantum torpedo tubes are loaded and ready, and I have power flowing to all weapon arrays. We can give them everything we have. Good, Morrison said. Lisa, I want firing solutions on their heavy cruisers first. Those ships have the firepower to destroy the station if we give them time to concentrate their attack. Carter's hands moved over her controls as the Liberty's targeting computers locked onto the largest enemy vessels. Solutions ready, sir. Shall I open fire? Not yet, Morrison replied. First, we give them a chance to do the right thing. He activated the general communication system and sent his message to both the Raider fleet and Kepler station. His voice was calm and professional, the tone of a man who was used to being obeyed. Attention Shadow Maw vessels, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Liberty. You are attacking innocent civilians and will cease your assault immediately. Withdraw from this system within 30 seconds or we will consider you hostile and respond accordingly. The response came from the largest Raider cruiser, and the voice was filled with arrogance and cruelty. This is War Captain Malgross of the Shadow Maw fleet. I do not know what foolish human thinks he can threaten us, but you will die with the rest of these pathetic creatures. Attack that human ship immediately. Morrison sighed quietly and looked at his tactical officer. Well, we tried to do this the easy way. Lisa, you may fire when ready. The USS Liberty revealed its true nature as its weapon systems came online. Quantum torpedo tubes along the ship's hull launched a barrage of projectiles that moved faster than anything the Raiders had ever seen. The torpedoes struck the nearest heavy cruiser before its crew could even react, punching through its shields and armor like they were made of paper. The enemy ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, sending debris across the battlefield. Before the other Raiders could recover from their shock, the Liberty's energy weapons opened fire. Particle beams and plasma cannons struck target after target with impossible accuracy, destroying smaller vessels and crippling larger ones. Commander Sarah Blake coordinated the ship's defensive systems as enemy fire began to focus on the Liberty. Point defense arrays moved with mechanical precision, shooting down incoming missiles and deflecting energy beams. The ship's shields absorbed the attacks that got through, barely flickering under the assault. Launching fighters, announced Squadron, Leader Nicole Hayes over the communication system. Gold Squadron and Silver Squadron are away and moving to engage enemy attack craft. Morrison watched as his fighters streaked away from the Liberty and dove into combat with the Raider vessels. The human pilots flew with a skill and coordination that amazed even their own captain. Their ships moved in perfect formation, supporting each other and striking at enemy weak points with deadly precision. War Captain Malgros could not believe what he was seeing. His fleet was being torn apart by a single human ship, and their weapons seemed to have no effect on its powerful shields. He had fought many battles against various alien species, but he had never encountered anything like this. "All ships concentrate fire on that human vessel," he ordered over his communication system. "If we can destroy their ship, the station will be defenseless again." The remaining raider ships turned their weapons toward the Liberty and fired everything they had. Plasma bolts, particle beams, and fusion missiles streaked through space, all aimed at the massive human warship. The attack struck the Liberty's shields and exploded in brilliant flashes of light. When the light faded, the USS Liberty was still there, completely undamaged. Its shields had absorbed the entire attack without even flickering. Morrison looked at his display and saw that the enemy had just wasted their best opportunity to hurt his ship. "Their mistake," he said quietly. "Lisa, target their command ship. I want War Captain Malgros to understand what happens when you threaten innocent people." The Liberty's main guns rotated to focus on the largest raider cruiser. These weapons were designed to destroy enemy battleships, not converted freighters like the pirates used. When they fired, the quantum energy beams cut through the enemy ship's hull like a knife through soft metal. Malgros felt his ship shaking apart around him as the human weapons tore through every system he had. Emergency lights flickered and died as power conduits exploded. His crew ran in panic as sections of the hull were ripped away by the devastating attack. "Abandon ship," he screamed into his communication system. "All hands abandon ship immediately." But it was too late for many of his crew. The ship exploded in a massive fireball that lit up the entire battlefield. War Captain Malgros managed to reach an escape pod just before the final explosion, but his flagship and most of his crew were gone. On Kepler Station, Commander Zixtel watched the battle through the viewing windows with amazement and hope. The human ship was single-handedly destroying an entire raider fleet, and it was doing so with a precision and power that seemed impossible. Dr. Reef was monitoring the communication channels and heard Captain Morrison's voice again. "Dr. Reef, this is Captain Morrison. We are engaging the raiders and will have them cleared away from your station shortly. How many enemy boarding parties are currently on your station?" "At least 200 pirates have boarded us," she replied. "Quickly. They are fighting our security forces throughout the lower levels and moving toward the civilian shelters." "Understood," Morrison replied. "We are sending Marines to assist you. Keep your people in the secure areas and mark friendly positions so our forces can identify you." Dr. Reef looked at her companions with wonder in her eyes. Not only was this human ship destroying the raider fleet, but they were also sending soldiers to help fight the enemies that had already boarded the station. Major Chris Turner checked his weapon one final time as the assault pod approached Kepler Station. Around him, 24 other Marines prepared for combat, their powered armor humming with energy and their faces hidden behind advanced helmets. These soldiers had trained for years to fight in space stations and hostile environments, and they were ready to face whatever they found inside. 2 minutes to impact, announced Sergeant Amy Davis over the communication system. "Remember, we have friendly aliens inside that station, so watch your targets and follow the identification codes Dr. Reef is broadcasting." The assault pod slammed into the station's hull with tremendous force, and cutting lasers immediately began burning through the metal. Within seconds, the Marines had created an opening large enough for them to enter. Turner was the first through the breach, his rifle scanning for enemies as his team spread out behind him. The corridor they entered was filled with smoke and the sounds of fighting. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls, and the air smelled of burned metal and fear. Turner could hear weapons fire coming from deeper in the station, where the raiders were still fighting against the alien security forces. "Davis, take Alpha Team and secure the route to the civilian shelters," Turner ordered. "Beta Team, you are with me. We are going to find the largest group of raiders and eliminate them." Dr. Reef's voice came through their communication system, providing crucial information about the station's layout. "Major Turner, this is Dr. Reef. The main raider force is on level 12, near the research laboratories. They are trying to access our computer cores to steal our data. Copy that, Doctor, Turner replied as he led his team toward the nearest lift shaft. We are moving to intercept them now. The Marines moved through the station with a speed and coordination that impressed even the alien defenders. Their powered armor allowed them to leap over obstacles and climb walls when the corridors were blocked. Their weapons were designed to be effective in the close quarters of a space station without damaging vital systems. Security Chief Vrixon was defending a barricade with his remaining guards when the human Marines appeared behind the raider position. He watched in amazement as the soldiers moved like ghosts through the smoke, their weapons firing with deadly accuracy. Each shot found its target, and within minutes the entire group of pirates was eliminated. "This is Major Turner," came a voice from one of the armored figures. "Are you Security Chief Vrixon?" "Yes," the insectoid replied, still stunned by how quickly the humans had solved a problem that had seemed impossible. "How did you know where to find us?" "Dr. Reef is guiding us through the station's communication system," Turner explained. "We need to reach the civilian shelters and make sure they are secure. Can you show us the fastest route?" Vrixon led the UI Marines through a series of maintenance tunnels that avoided the areas where raiders were still fighting. As they moved, Turner could hear reports from his other teams over the communication system. The humans were systematically clearing the station of enemies, working with the alien defenders to rescue trapped civilians. Meanwhile, in space around the station, the USS Liberty continued its devastating attack on the Shadow Maw fleet. Commander Sarah Blake coordinated the ship's systems as Chief Engineer Ryan Lopez pushed their weapons beyond normal safety limits. The Liberty's quantum torpedo arrays fired continuously, each shot destroying or crippling another enemy vessel. Squadron Leader Nicole Hayes led her fighters in precise strikes against the raider attack craft. The human pilots flew with a skill that made their enemies look like amateurs, diving through formations of enemy ships and emerging unscathed while leaving destruction behind them. "Enemy fleet strength is down to 30%, reported Lieutenant Commander Carter from her tactical station. "Most of their heavy cruisers have been destroyed, and the remaining ships are trying to withdraw from the battle." Captain Morrison watched the tactical display as red dots disappeared one by one. The raider fleet that had seemed so threatening an hour ago was now running for their lives, leaving behind the wreckage of their most powerful ships. "Let them go," he decided. "Our priority is making sure the station is secure and helping the people inside." On Kepler Station, Major Turner and his Marines had reached the main civilian shelter. The heavy doors were sealed and barricaded from the inside, protecting nearly 2,000 people from the raiders who had been trying to break in. Turner could see blast marks on the metal where the pirates had been using explosives to weaken the barriers. "This is Major Turner of the Human Marines," he announced over the shelter's communication system. "The raiders outside your shelter have been eliminated. You are safe now." The doors opened slowly, and Commander Zixtel emerged first, followed by hundreds of frightened but hopeful civilians. They were a mix of all three species who worked on the station: Zephyrians, Aquari, and Vex families who had been hiding, in terror for hours. "Are the raiders really gone?" asked a young Aquari female who was holding her child close to her chest. Sergeant Davis removed her helmet so the civilians could see her face. "Yes, they are gone. My team has cleared this entire section of the station, and our ship is finishing off the last of their fleet." Dr. Reef appeared from another corridor, escorted by more human Marines. Her face showed relief and gratitude as she approached Major Turner. "Major, I cannot thank you enough for what you have done. When we sent that distress call, we never imagined anyone would actually come to help us." "That is what we do, Doctor," Turner replied simply. "When people are in trouble, humans respond. It does not matter if you are human or alien, civilian or military. Everyone deserves protection, from criminals like these raiders." Commander Zixtel studied the human soldiers with fascination. Their armor was more advanced than anything he had seen before, and their weapons were clearly superior to standard galactic military equipment. But what impressed him most was their attitude. They acted like saving strangers was the most natural thing in the world. "How many ships do humans have like the Liberty?" he asked Major Turner. "Your vessel destroyed an entire raider fleet without taking any damage." Turner smiled behind his helmet. The Liberty is just one ship in our fleet, Commander, and our fleet is just one of several that patrol this region of space. Humans believe that everyone has the right to live in peace, and we are prepared to fight anyone who threatens that peace. Security Chief Rixon joined the conversation, his mandibles clicking with excitement. I have heard stories about human military capabilities, but I thought they were exaggerated. Your people fight with a coordination and effectiveness that I have never seen before. We train hard and we fight together, Sergeant Davis explained. Every human soldier knows that their job is to protect innocent people and stop those who would harm them. It makes us very motivated to do our best. The all-clear signal came through the communication system as the last raider boarding parties were eliminated. Captain Morrison's voice followed, calm and reassuring. This is Captain Morrison to all personnel on Kepler Station. The enemy fleet has been destroyed or driven off, and our Marines have secured your station. Medical teams are standing by to assist anyone who needs help. Dr. Reef activated the station's general communication system so everyone could hear her announcement. Attention all residents of Kepler Station. The crisis is over. The human ship USS Liberty has saved us from the Shadow Maw raiders. We are safe and we owe our lives to Captain Morrison and his crew. Cheers erupted throughout the station as people emerged from hiding places and shelters. Families reunited with tears of joy, and workers began the process of repairing the damage caused by the attack. The humans had not only saved their lives, but had also preserved their home and their way of life. Major Turner gathered his Marines for extraction back to the Liberty, but before they left, many of the station's residents approached them to express their gratitude. Children who had been terrified hours earlier now looked at the human soldiers with wonder and admiration. "Will you stay and help us rebuild?" asked one young Zephyrian, whose parents worked in the station's laboratories. Turner knelt down so he could speak to the child at eye level. "We have to go patrol other systems and help other people who might be in trouble. But if you ever need help again, just call us. Humans always answer when people need help." 3 days after the battle, Admiral Kate Barnes arrived at Kepler Station with a small fleet of human ships. The Admiral was a veteran of many conflicts along the frontier, and she understood the importance of what had happened here. The rescue of Kepler Station would be remembered throughout the galaxy as the moment when humanity announced its presence as a major power. Captain Morrison stood in the station's main conference room alongside Commander Zixtel, Dr. Kayla Reef, and security. Chief Rixon. The 4 officers had spent hours discussing the attack and its implications for the future. What had started as a desperate battle for survival had become the foundation for a new alliance between species. "The reports from my intelligence officers are very concerning," Admiral Barnes said as she reviewed the data on her tablet. "The Shadow Maw raiders have been growing bolder over the past year, attacking stations and colonies throughout this region. Kepler Station was just their latest target." Dr. Susan Clark, the fleet's chief xenobiologist, sat beside the Admiral and added her own observations. "We have been monitoring raider activity for months, but we did not realize how widespread the problem had become. These criminals are threatening the safety of millions of innocent people." Commander Zixtel's crystalline body reflected the conference room lights as he spoke. "My people have lost 3 mining operations to raider attacks in the past 6 months. We thought we were alone in facing this threat, but it seems the Shadow Maw have been attacking everyone in this sector. The same is true for my species," Security Chief Rixon added, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "Vex colonies near the frontier have reported increasing raids, but our military forces are spread too thin to provide adequate protection." Dr. Reef leaned forward in her chair, her large eyes bright with interest. "Captain Morrison, when we first contacted your ship, we had no idea that humans possessed such advanced military technology. Most species in this region believe that humans are primarily traders and explorers." Morrison smiled at the comment. "That is exactly what we wanted them to think, Doctor. Humans learned long ago that it is better to be underestimated than to be seen as a threat. We prefer to solve problems through diplomacy and trade, but we are prepared to fight when innocent people are in danger." Admiral Barnes activated a holographic display that showed the local region of space. Dozens of star systems appeared as points of light, with trade routes connecting them in a complex web. Red markers indicated known raider attacks, and the pattern was clear. The Shadow Maw were systematically targeting isolated colonies and stations. This is why we established the 3rd Human Defense Fleet, she explained. Our mission is to patrol the frontier and provide assistance to anyone who needs help, regardless of their species or political affiliation. We believe that all people have the right to live in peace. Lieutenant Colonel Mark Johnson, the fleet's intelligence officer, joined the conversation from his position at the back of the room. We have been tracking Shadow Maw operations for 2 years, but they have been careful to avoid attacking human interests directly. They probably thought we would not interfere with their raids on other species. They were wrong, Morrison said firmly. Humans do not ignore suffering just because the victims are not human. When Dr. Reef sent her distress call, we responded, immediately because it was the right thing to do. Commander Zixtel stood and walked to the holographic display, studying the pattern of attacks. If humans are willing to help defend this region, my government would be very interested in forming a formal alliance. The Zephyrian Republic has resources and technology that could benefit both our species. The Aquari Federation would also be interested in such an arrangement, Dr. Reef added. We have advanced science and research capabilities that could complement human military strength. Security Chief Vrixon joined them at the display. The Vex Collective has extensive manufacturing facilities and skilled workers. An alliance between our 3 species and humanity could create a powerful force for peace and stability in this region. Admiral Barnes nodded approvingly. That is exactly what we were hoping to hear. Humans believe that cooperation between species is the key to building a better future for everyone. We would be honored to form an alliance with your governments. Dr. Clark opened her briefcase and withdrew several data tablets containing preliminary alliance proposals. We have prepared some basic agreements that could serve as a starting point for formal negotiations. These documents outline mutual defense, commitments, trade arrangements, and scientific cooperation programs. Over the next several hours, the group worked through the details of what would become known as the Kepler Defense Pact. The agreement established mutual protection commitments, with each species providing their unique strengths to defend the others from threats like the Shadow Maw raiders. There is one more thing we need to discuss, Morrison said as the formal negotiations concluded. War Captain Malgros survived the destruction of his flagship and is currently in our custody. We captured him during the final phase of the battle. Commander Zixtel's body grew brighter with interest. Malgros is responsible for dozens of attacks throughout this sector. Many innocent people have died because of his orders. He will face trial for his crimes, Admiral Barnes assured them. But first, our intelligence officers want to interrogate him about other Shadow Maw operations. The information he provides could help us prevent future attacks. In the detention area of the USS Liberty, War Captain Malgros sat in his cell and stared at the walls. The arrogant pirate leader who had terrorized the frontier for years was now a broken man, haunted by the memory of watching his entire fleet destroyed by a single human ship. Lieutenant Commander Carter visited him daily, trying to extract information about other raider bases and planned attacks. Malgros had initially refused to cooperate, but the reality of his situation was slowly sinking in. His fleet was gone, his crew was dead or scattered, and his reputation as an unstoppable raider was destroyed. You humans surprised me, he admitted during one interrogation session. I thought you were weak because you helped others instead of conquering them. I was wrong. You are strong because you help others. Carter leaned back in her chair and studied the defeated pirate. That is the difference between humans and criminals like you, Malgros. We gain strength by protecting people, while you thought strength came from hurting them. My people will remember what happened here, Malgros continued. Word will spread throughout the criminal networks that humans are not to be underestimated. Many raiders will avoid this region entirely, rather than risk facing your ships. Good, Carter replied. That means fewer innocent people will suffer, and that is all we really care about. Back on Kepler Station, the work of rebuilding was nearly complete. Human engineering teams had worked alongside alien technicians to repair the damage caused by the raider attack. The station was now better defended than before, with new shield generators and weapon systems provided by the human fleet. Commander Zixtel stood in his office and looked out at the human ships that remained in the system. The USS Liberty and Her escort vessels represented more than just military protection. They were symbols of hope and friendship between species who had once been strangers. Dr. Reef entered the office carrying a datapad with the latest research reports. The collaboration between our scientists and the human research teams is producing remarkable results. We are learning things about physics and engineering that neither of our species understood before. And Security Chief Vrixon tells me that human military advisors are helping to train our security forces, Zixtel replied. They are teaching us tactics and techniques that will make us much more effective against future threats. The two colleagues stood together at the window, watching as human and alien ships worked side by side in the space around their station. The alliance that had been born from desperation and violence was now growing into something beautiful, a partnership based on mutual respect and shared values. Do you think this is how it will always be? Dr. Reef asked. Humans helping others and asking for nothing in return? Zixtel's musical voice carried a note of certainty. I believe it is their nature, Kala. They could have demanded payment for rescuing us or insisted on controlling our station as the price of protection. Instead, they offered friendship and cooperation. That tells me everything I need to know about what kind of people they are. In the months that followed, the Kepler Defense Pact would grow to include dozens of other species and hundreds of worlds. The alliance would become a beacon of hope for peaceful people throughout the galaxy, proof that different species could work together to build something greater than any of them could achieve alone. And at the center of it all would be humanity, the species that emerged from the darkness when all hope seemed lost, bringing with them the firepower to defeat any enemy and the wisdom to turn enemies into friends.